Hello, everybody. How are you all today? Do you know what room you're in here? This is Leadership and Community Development. And we're going to have a wonderful discussion. And I'm the moderator, so I'll be leading them through a series of questions. But in short, if you all were here this morning, you have a very good understanding of what this Prosperity Conference is all about and what Venture Jobs Foundation is looking to do in this community. And as part of building that ecosystem, we literally have organizations that are working in the vineyard within their community to not only make the communities better, but to create opportunities and equitable growth and development in the areas in which they represent. So once again, I'm the moderator, Sherry Chibangu. What else do you want to know about me? I think that that's just enough. I'm going to briefly introduce the panel, and after I do that, I will give each one of them an opportunity to give a little bit more in-depth understanding of what it is that they do. I have questions that I have prepared that's directed at some of the panelists, and then some of them will be questions that I'll just throw out, and you all can feel free to answer it. I've also shared with them that this is not a scripted session, and so to the extent that they want to comment on something the other panelists have said, they're more than welcome to do that. I want you all also to feel free to ask your questions, but thank you all so very much for being here with us this afternoon. I'm going to start with this fine young man to my left, your right, Augustine Rodriguez, who is the Senior Director of Social Entrepreneurship at Ibero, and I probably left a little bit out. And he's done so many things that I could be up here for an hour talking about him. But please help me to welcome Augustine Rodriguez. Hey, I like that. Woo! Get me to dancing up here. To my right, we have Dr. LaShonda Leslie Smith. And Dr. LaShonda is the Executive Director of listen to this, Connected Communities. And I could tell you a lot of stories about her, and she's doing and she's done so much more than just what I introduced. But hopefully, during her introduction, she will share a little bit more with you all about what she does. And then to my far right, someone that I reconnected with after can't remember how many years, we have Charlotte Birch, who is the president of the Arnett Thurston Brooks Business Association, and she's served in that role for almost 20 years. She is an entrepreneur, been an entrepreneur all of her life. And listen to this. Oh, I'm not supposed to tell all of this, but I will just add this. Her business is sensuous satiables. And I'm going to leave it right there. But welcome, Charlotte. And please, if you don't mind, guys, I like to warm people up. So why don't you all just give them a nice hand clap to get them loose and ready for the questions? Woo, 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 woo. Okay. All right. So now it's time for them to give a little more in-depth, give you all a more in-depth understanding of who they are and what they do. And so they have about a minute and a half to do that. So I'm going to call on you, Charlotte Birch, because I'm looking at you.
Well, good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, good day, as they say in England, and never miss. My business began, after me working about 30 different jobs by the age of 28 years old. So that meant I didn't have a job for a year, because if you do the average. And then one day I said, hey, I'm going to start a business. So my brother, this is just a quick overview, my brother was into smelling good. He would wear mango oils. Like, why you smell like that? You're a man. And I said, one day I want to be like that. I want to sell that stuff. And sure enough, got an opportunity to come into some product and made the commitment. And that commitment took me to Midtown Plaza, which later took me to Thurston Road Businesses Association, Thurston, Brooks, and Arnett. And as soon as I got there in 2004, the stakeholders surrounded me and said, hey, you gotta be the president. I said, okay. So I picked that up and am still doing that since 2004, off and on, mostly on. They don't even vote anymore for the presidential office. They're just like, oh, Charlotte's gonna do it. And I just do. So in that role as the president of Thurston Brooks Merchants Association and Arnett Business Association, it is my responsibility to make sure that the outreach happens from that business corridor outwardly all over the city of Rochester. And so I won't go over my instant minute of describing who I am, but that's pretty much where it all began, being self-employed at the age of 28, moving to Midtown Plaza in that same time frame, and to this moment I'm still self-employed in that line of business for sensuous Sage-Pos. And we just recently began a new initiative where we purchased a property in the 19th Ward on Thurston Road, and we named it the Birch Community Foundation. And now I have a place where people that are growing up can come in, do arts and culture, play some wonderful instruments and things, and have meet and greets at that property, which is over by Inglewood and Marlborough Road. So any questions, feel free to let me know, and I'll answer them the best way that I can.
Thank you. Dr.
So I'm a native Rochesterian, and I have been running nonprofits in Rochester for the last 20 years or so. I consider myself to be somewhat of a social entrepreneur. I do believe in treating nonprofits like lean businesses, making sure that you have income generating activities, that you're using agile project management, that you're really maximizing the resource, because the resources can be scarce with nonprofits, and our goal is really to lift people and make sure that we leave them better than where we found them. So Connected Communities, the nonprofit that I've been running for the last 8 years, is a neighborhood revitalization org. Our job is to work across 4 pillars: housing, education, workforce economic development, and health and wellness. The goal is really to ensure that we are utilizing neighborhoods as economic ecosystems to break the cycle of intergenerational poverty. We've created a program called the Greenwood Project, and that's paying homage to the Greenwood community in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I am so excited to say that we've been able to acquire 8 parcels in that neighborhood, and our job is to identify minority business owners, primarily Black and brown individuals who are ready to graduate to a brick and mortar, and we're going to put those folks in those commercial properties, allow them to live, work, and play in their own neighborhoods. We want to see dollars cycle in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in a way that we've not seen historically, in ways we don't even see across our country. We have a lot of resources that are being poured into low income Black and brown communities, but those resources are largely going to nonprofits. Our nonprofits, mine included, are paying for our staffing, and many nonprofit staffs don't live in our neighborhoods. So those dollars cycle out within hours, at least by the end of that workday. And our job is to keep those dollars in those neighborhoods, in those communities, for as long as possible, so those communities can really see the economic value.
Hey guys, my name's Augustine. I'm representing Ibero here today. Ibero is located in the North Clinton corridor. Today I'm going to do my best to represent both the League side, which is the main brand that you hear, the dual language service organization looking to meet various areas of needs for the Latino community and the underserved. And I'm also going to be representing Ibero-American Development Corporation, which is our community corporation that deals specifically with housing, community, and business.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all very much. I can't wait to hear more. So, here's my first question to the panel, and that is, again, if we're talking about collaborating and bringing more groups into the discussion about what happens in their area, their neighborhood, my question to you all is, what is the process by which you engage members in your community to have dialogue about what's going to happen? And please answer in any way that you all would like.
I could kick us off with that.
Go right ahead.
So back in 2016, Ibero led an initiative called the El Camino Vision Planning. This was a long-term project directly led by the community, and feedback from the community. It's a very extensive document, 80 plus pages that you can just find online, called El Camino Trail Vision Planning. And that had helped lay out quite a bit of exercises of what the community itself, from the business and residentials, wanted to see in the corridor. From that, Project Hope was launched. It was an ongoing community organization that was able to meet and continue to hold accountable to these things. Once a significant portion of the projects were completed, that was put on hold, and an El Camino vision plan took shape of its own. We're looking to, as of January of this year, to relaunch the new phase of the vision plan, which will include an active neighborhood association called El Camino, to keep these dialogues ongoing. Now, the projects that, and I'm sure we'll dive a little deeper into this as conversations evolve here today, but the projects went from what to do with empty housing to what about the basic community needs, and how do we integrate a community research center, and how do we focus on the commercial corridor, the main avenue of North Clinton, support those businesses, and who do we ultimately call the business anchor in that area? And throughout the conversation, I'll hint at different things that have happened and still aspirations that the El Camino vision plan holds. The reason why I keep saying El Camino is because that's where Ibero has taken its leadership in leading that, and I just want to really imprint that in your head, so that when you want to know more about what Ibero is doing in the North Clinton corridor, it is all written there. It's all public.
I'd like to, I guess, piggyback off what you're saying. And as far as our business corridor between Thurston Brooks and Arnett Boulevard, we operate from a different standpoint than the North Clinton does as anywhere. And because we find that people, we have about 50 businesses between the three strips, which makes up the one business corridor, and there are so many personalities. That's what I've discovered over the years, the decades. I've been there a couple of decades. And some people, some of the business owners, they're all diehard business owners. They've been there for 15 years, 20 years, 25. A lot of them own their own properties. The brick and mortar stores are actually owned by the actual business owner. And a lot of times, the business owners don't really have a staff of like 4 or 5 employees, and they don't have the resources because they're busy paying the bills, and their businesses are probably structured as a DBA more so than a nonprofit or a corporation, S Corp, C Corp, LLC. It's only recently I've been hearing more of the businesses mention that they want to be established on that level as far as New York State goes. And so when they can begin to elevate, and this is what we're helping to teach the business owners, when they can elevate their status from just the DBA status, they'll open up other financial and economical opportunities to fund themselves through, because certain grant fundings are not really targeted for DBAs, because DBAs may be a business that may be established for like a year or 3 years, or your 20 years as a DBA. And a lot of the businesses seem to be, owners are uninformed of what the benefit is when you step into the corporation, S Corp, C Corp, LLC part of it. And what the Business Association does, what Thurston does, is although it's a nonprofit, we still are able to share with the existing businesses in the corridors the benefits, some of the benefits, and say upping their game, like where they're coming from. And we use certain tools, like we created a website, we have a Google presence, there's of course a brochure that lists like a directory of the businesses, as well as coupons and different types of, we incentivize their participation in what the association is doing. And what we do when the business participate, we help connect them to companies and organizations here available, City of Rochester, Monroe County. When they participate, they can get more information. Just from, say, if the business wanted to be part of the print in the brochure, they get a stack of those brochures when they're imprinted, and the other contacts that can help inform them to grow their business is part of that brochure as well. So, and on top of that, I kind of double as a business owner for Sensuous Satiables. And all the tools that I've obtained, like in 1994 and 1995, when Sherry and I met, when she was the Comfort Zone in Midtown Plaza, a beautiful bedding place, before Bath & Beyond was even born. She had these great canopies, great pillows, et cetera, et cetera. And I haven't seen Sherry maybe 5 times since 2004, because I left Midtown Plaza and went to the 19th, or the southwest side of town. She moved on in her profession at I believe, is it Monroe Community College, or is it Brockport, or several of those? Anyways, and keeping true to that whole idea about, as far as what I learned about being in the mall setting, I was able to bring some of those, I fashioned some of those things that I learned in the mall to Thurston Road, Arnett Boulevard, and Brooks Avenue businesses. So to be brought from a Midtown Plaza, where it's a corporation run, that actually was the first mall in the United States, from what I understand. Their practices were, they would tell me, you're running with the big dogs now. So after being in that mall that long for those years, and then stepping into just a community, a smaller community, neighboring community businesses, I was able to share what I've been learning I had learned from being in the mall. Thank you. To that skill set, bringing that right into the local small community. And it's a work in progress still, and I look forward to continuing that capacity for Thurston, Brooks, and Arnett. Thank you. You're very welcome.
Similar to iBureau, Connected Communities has engaged in quite a bit of community visioning. We also have what we call the Comprehensive Neighborhood Plan. The goal was to not just create a plan, because we have a lot of plans. Our speaker this morning said here in Rochester, and I'm sure in many communities like ours, we have a lot of plans. They sit on a shelf, they collect some dust. Mm-hmm. We repeat over and over what we already know about our communities and the needs. We highlight the needs over and over again. But our goal at Connected Communities in this community visioning process was really to go back to the community and say, here's what we think we heard. Okay. Did we get it right? And here's where we think you as a community member want us to go. Are we on track? And so we published that comprehensive neighborhood plan. It's many, many pages, 153 pages or something like that. Wow. But one thing that we did to really engage people and to keep it alive and make sure that it wasn't collecting dust on a shelf is every year since the plan was launched, each quarter we have a CNP update, we call it, the Comprehensive Neighborhood neighborhood plan update. And that's where we're going back to the community. During COVID, we were doing them virtually. Now we're doing them in person, and we're basically saying, hey, community members, hold us accountable. Here's our transparency and what we're doing. Here's the bumps in the road that we've run into. And I think the most important piece about this level of engagement is that it's not a strategic plan for connected communities, but it's a comprehensive neighborhood plan that includes lots of different partners. And so we're saying to the partners, here's what you said you were going to do in the plan. And we as a staff, as an organization, get to hold all of those parties accountable. And when we're coming to the community is holding all of us accountable.
Okay. Great.
Awesome. Awesome. Any burning question from the audience before we continue? Who is it? I saw one here.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You want to come here, or you just want to stand up to make sure everybody hears you? And then I saw a hand over here.
I like microphones too much to come up there. So just stay right here.
Okay.
So my question is for, please remind me.
Charlotte,
Yes, Ms. Charlotte.
Thurston Brooks Arnett Business Association.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Charlotte, Madam President. What support does the business corridor need?
Well, we currently need, and we do utilize some of the resources. And again, Monroe County, City of Rochester, Redco has been instrumental in providing funding. And what we are required to do is say a work plan. For instance, we wanted to do something that would be obvious that a change is happening for Thurston Road and Arnett Boulevard and Brooks Avenue. So we do things like order, for instance, specifically musical instruments that went up on the street poles. We have these beautiful street lamps, black lacquered, no power on them, just the light, you know. And so one of our street managers, street liaisons, said, I heard about some solar-powered LED light strands. So I had them take the 6-foot by 4-foot decorations down, and a few of us in the Business Association hand-wrapped the solar-powered light strands on the 6-foot by 5-foot saxophones, guitars, trumpets, and they're all reinstalled back in the corridor between Ravenwood and Brooks Avenue on both sides of the street all the way through. So if the sun is brilliant enough that day, then they power up and look twinkle through the evening, and they're not just Christmas decorations, they're year-round. So stuff like that, we find that the temperament and the personalities and the stakeholders over here in the Southwest for Thurston Road, they're in a more of a show-me state, like LaShonda is saying. We have to do actionable things as opposed to think of ideas. So the funding, we continue to need that
Okay, that's what
for
I
other
was gonna ask,
projects.
like, what are the biggest barriers that the businesses are facing?
Those
I
things.
was gonna say, how can we as the city assist? So I would love to
You-
connect with you.
I can give you the plan going forward. Yes.
Thank you for that question. I saw a hand here.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
wondering if there were public forum events.
Why don't you, before I go on, can you just state your name, please?
My name is Maya Shabir Johnson.
All right. And then if you can state your name, and anybody else who asks this question, I want you to do that as well.
Okay, Maisha, I'm following you now.
Yes, yes.
My name is Jordan. I was wondering if there were local or open to the public forum meetings within your organization so that our business is downtown. It's not within your areas, but we are we're right in parcel 5. And so are there meetings that you host that are open to the public?
Absolutely. I can, if you don't mind, I can speak real quick to that.
Real quick.
Absolutely. And I can share the link and have you add it into the mailing. Definitely. And we Zoom if you can't be there in person, or we can meet at different locations, namely 923 Genesee Street, Neighborhood Service Center, every Wednesday,
Okay.
first Wednesday of the
We'll get-
month. That's it, yes.
Yes, Connected Communities does have those CMP quarterly updates as well. We also do a town hall on an annual basis, which brings the entire community together. I just want to really emphasize the fact that we are centrally located in the Beechwood and Inman neighborhood. So that's, I think, what's really unique about us as a community quarterback. We're really championing change in those two specific neighborhoods with the hope that what we're doing there can be replicated in other parts of Rochester.
Boy, that was one of the questions I was going to ask in terms of if there's something that you all are in that you're currently doing and you have some traction. Is it something that you believe could be replicated in other parts of the city or places outside of our area? If you can think of, if you could just expand on that just a little bit. Is my question clear?
Yes.
In terms of what I'm asking? So that's what I'd like for you all to answer, and so if you wanted to continue to expand.
Yeah, sure. And just kind of relating it to
Now,
the
break it down so
previous
we all get it.
the previous question in terms of community engagement. So many times we have groups, individuals that are speaking on behalf of our communities. And I promise you, our people are smart and they can speak for themselves. But they may need a group like Ibero, like Connected Communities, like the neighborhood associations, the business associations, to help gather the right players at the table, to break down the barriers between communication. And so one of the things that we've done, and one of the things that I was hearing all the time when I first started, was we need more residents at the table. We need residents making these decisions. We don't need to make them on their behalf. And the reality is, I get a salary to be at the mayor's office at 8 a.m. and to be at a neighborhood meeting at 9 p.m. And yet the people who are most impacted, the impacted communities, the impacted populations that we're serving, who need resources, we're saying to them, give up more of your time even though you're working 2 jobs already. Give up more of your time even though you got a side hustle here, or you're trying to put food on the table, or you're trying to have a solid daycare. And so we created what we call the Resident Ambassadors Program. And that's where we pay folks to actually be at those meetings. We pay folks to train them in the areas that we work in: housing, education, workforce, economic development, and health and wellness. We even partnered with St. John Fisher, which allowed us to give and provide them what we call a micro-credential. So those are transferable skills, soft employment skills that they are not only getting paid for already to build up, but they can use in other places. That's a replicable program. Every community, every neighborhood across the country can utilize a simple model like that to get dollars into the hands, economic opportunity into the hands of people who need it the most, not to mention the fact that they are context experts. We should be compensating them. We want to bring people into our community forums and give them a $25 gift card. No, sir, ma'am. I don't need your $25 gift card. I need a regular salary, or I need an opportunity to learn how to start my own business so that I can generate income for my household.
That is amazing.
That is beautiful.
I got to give you an elbow tap on that one.
Yes.
Right. All right. Other things that may be that you're doing that may be replicated in our area or outside.
Yeah, so in North Clinton, I mentioned earlier that Ibero has 3 areas of focus when it comes to neighborhood development, which is in housing, community, and business. I'll highlight the business aspect of it, and this is something that I've seen in the 19th Ward, so I know that it's very possible. In the North Clinton corridor in 2020, right in the middle of COVID, we launched the International Plaza. This is a city-owned property managed by the Rochester Public Market. But Ibero being the property manager, we have a lot of say in what happens there. And we've been using it as our retail incubator since then to help launch new businesses right there in the North Clinton corridor. Now, think of it from this perspective. If you've been drive down any corridor, any commercial corridor, and what do you generally see? It's a lot of saturated and highly competitive businesses that are competing with each other if they're there, and then there's a lot of empty vessels that are being misused. So now think if a corridor could start with a green space, just the way the International Plaza did. It was a green space for many years, can be a space that is dedicated right at the heart of that commercial corridor, and we can launch new businesses. Think about of all the entrepreneurship ventures and all the ESOs, entrepreneur service organizations that are sitting here today, of the creativity juices that come with the energy of those new entrepreneurs. Many of them are being launched from their homes or from tech incubators here downtown, but we're doing it right in the middle of the hood. Which means now the customer in North Clinton is able to now have options, new options that are coming in. The entrepreneurs are able to test their product and immediately start with that clientele.
That's right.
Instead of expanding or an afterthought, right? And they're able to, at a low cost, able to enter the marketplace and then scale from that point on. Obviously, Ibero has to do a lot of the incubating part, right? The technical assistant, the continuous classwork. But when you take, let's say, a green space in the middle of a major commercial corridor where you are able to launch businesses from there, that's a very replicable project that can be done in all the major corridors. And by the way, we don't do this year-round. It's an open air space, so we don't have the roofs that the public market has yet, which means we have to shut down by the end of Hispanic Heritage Month. So it's not a year-round project. Imagine if it could.
Yeah, season.
So I just want to say that because there's going to be a lot of buts about this idea. But if we're making it work in North Clinton, where 75% of the heroin sales in the greater Rochester area are sold, if we're able to do that right there to combat these incredible Goliaths that we're trying to deal with, then it could be done in any corridor in our city.
Thank you all. Thank you. Questions from the audience, please. Let me hear your name and your question.
Good afternoon, panel. My name is Antonia Winter. I heard Charlotte mention that a lot of the business owners in the 19th Ward in the Southwest are using DBAs. What actions are being taken so that the business owners can evolve into LLCs or non-for-profits so that they could qualify for funding and grants and different things like that?
Thank you. Where the business association comes into play, we generally do basic go for walks and in and out of the different stores and the businesses and share that information with them. And then we connect them to agencies that are super inexpensive to get them started. And I don't know if anyone's aware of this, but I can just say it out loud. There's an organization called Swift Filings. If you just Google it right now, you can hit 4 or 5 buttons, and it costs about $320. You can break the payments down into 3 installments, and now you're legally filed with New York State, and you have a live agent that will communicate with that business or that person that's inquiring, and they can get started immediately with that status. And then by the business association being physically located as businesses in the corridor, at any point, my phone is ringing, I'm at the counter pouring aromatherapy products, but I'm answering the phone calls that are coming in for Thurston Brooks Merchants Association as well at the same time. And the reason why I list my own phone number is so I can actually gauge if people are really going on the internet or online and Googling Thurston. And I get the phone calls as opposed to the 50 different stores getting them and not answering the call. So we want to make sure that keeps happening. And LaShonda, what you're talking about, I can't wait to talk to you after we're off the panel here, because the brochure, that's the graphics that have to go into, say, the Adobe Acrobat program. I'm positive that you have someone that you can probably take the baton and get all of the corridors, maybe a brochure, and use that base model that's been generated for all of Rochester. If all of the businesses in Rochester, north, east, southwest, were in this brochure, Rochester would have an awesome report card per the state when it comes down to showing out.
Thank
Okay.
you. At least one more question from the audience, please. One more question from the audience? All right, then I'll ask another question.
I saw a handful.
Oh, you know what? The light is in my eyes. Please stand up and tell us your name and ask your question. Oh, I just met you.
I was just wondering if there were any organizations like yours or business corridors for like the downtown area. Because my business is in downtown and I'm on the wrong side of Main Street.
You're on West Main or East Main?
I'm right by the bus station.
That's East Main. You can come to the West Main meeting. And I'm sure Blossom Road has one.
There's several businesses on my block. We don't even know each other. And we need help. Like we need some help.
Okay.
But yeah, if we had like an organization like that where we could all come together, brainstorm,
Sure.
something like that.
I could speak to that a little bit. Today, there's a lady, Daisy. I'm sorry, my microphone. I talk really loud, so I kind of like try to keep it low. Daisy Algarin Rivera, the city of Rochester. She's the director of all 4 quadrants. And today was the presidents and neighborhood leaders meeting from 10 to 11:30. And on that panel, at least 55 people participated on that panel. So if Luke and anyone else wants to leave their email, then we can forward that to Daisy and Jennifer DeFranco at the City of Rochester and ensure you're on that next meeting.
And I'll just add to that through Daisy's work and office, which I think you're probably making a connection already, there are street liaisons that are in each one of the quadrants. And so you being able to connect with that street liaison, that person should be able to help you either connect with the business association that's for that area or help you launch one. And sometimes if there are banks in your area, those banks will and can be helpful. We've been working with ESL to establish a new business association for the Beechwood and Emma neighborhoods. So there are lots of different opportunities out there, but you just got to keep asking those questions like you are now, Luke, and making sure that you're talking to the right people so your business can get that support.
What's your business?
City Play Heat, on the tattoo studio.
That's wonderful.
Wonderful. See, people are making connections just like we want them to do it when you come to conferences like that. So yeah, exchange that information and get to know everybody before you leave the room. Okay, so panelists, what question would you have wanted me to ask you all that you would like to share with me and the audience? A question, I have a series of questions that I shared with you all in advance. But what burning question would you like to ask yourself so that you can answer and thereby give the audience more information about what it is that you're doing in your part of the community here in Rochester? Just think about it for a second.
Why? Not why you're asking, but that question is, why are we doing this?
Go right
That's the
ahead.
question, why? Why are you doing this? And someone asked me that. They said, why are you doing this? And the truth of the matter is, you've heard those phrases, we're the change that we seek. It's like, well, what does that mean? Well, I can ask Luke to turn that light up. But Luke, why can't I just go turn that up? You know? So when we activate ourselves and we like what we do, and we do the things that are natural, you want to tell somebody how good the Creator is for giving you the opportunity to do that thing. So it does no good to just do it inside the house. You got to like get outside the house and go down the street and around the corner and just do it. So I love that. This is why I do what I do, because I want to do it over here. I want it replicated over there. And I want to do it everywhere where I go. So if I go to Orlando, I want to do it in Orlando too. So thank you.
Charlotte, I'm going to build on your question.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing. And my rephrasing of your question is, why are you in the work that you're currently in? Why are you doing it? And thank you for that question. And then I'm going to move back to my list. But why?
Well, I'll make that quick. For one,
have to.
I'll make it quick because I have another question I want to ask. So for one, I'm a native Rochesterian. As I mentioned, black girl, grew up in the hood, was a teen mom, had my first child at 14. I have a lot of family that still lives in significant deep poverty. And so this is why I do this, because if I can be successful in one part of the city of Rochester, we can plan it in other parts of the city of Rochester, and I can see my people set free. So that's my why. Thank you. The question that I have is, what do we need to be successful? And I'm sure each one of us want to be able to share.
Yeah, I want you to hold that question.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna give Augustine an opportunity to answer it.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna come back to you
Got it.
for that question, and I still have a few here that I'd still like to ask. Is that okay? Yeah. All right.
The reason why I personally do this, I don't live in North Clinton corridor. I live in the Beechwood neighborhood, right? So why North Clinton? That's where I met my wife.
Hey, where is she?
My church is right on Avenue D in North Clinton. We've been there for 10 years, and my wife and I we foster teens, and that's where we take our teens. I go to North Clinton not just to work. I go there to worship. I go there to eat. I go there to walk the trails. I go there. So and I'll say this and I'll explain it in a bit, but I thought working in corporate America was very boring, and I wanted a challenge, and I wanted to be in the front lines. I chose that church on purpose. I chose Ibero for that very purpose too.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to go back to your heavy question.
The what? What do we need to be successful? For one, we need folks like you who are in the audience and really want to, you know what your why is, and you want to make a contribution in the earth that can spring forth significant change for other people who look like you, who have the same challenges as you. Connected Communities, with the launch of this Greenwood project and the acquisition of all of these different commercial properties, need thinkers. We need thought partners. We need people to help finance and fund this. We need folks to serve on our board of directors. We need folks on our economic development committee. We need people who are committed to affecting change in a city that has a lot of resources, but as our opening speaker mentioned, there is such a disconnect. There's a tale of two cities here. And so that's my burning question all the time, is I'm hoping people ask, what do you need to be successful? We need all of you.
Yes. I can definitely add to that. And
Sure.
yes, as far as the what can we do? We can
successful.
We can activate, and just if there's a blueprint, then there's 10 blueprints. There's no one magic wand to get the what done. And so, and seeing the different personalities through the business corridors and here on the panel, the bottom line is the more that we do, the wider our circumference becomes. So it'll take us longer to get back around if we just have the same amount of hands. So if we have more hands on deck, then we can take advantage of the saving of the time and getting to other parts of the areas that we need the assistance in. And I love the fact that we are doing things that people can see, but we want Rochester to really thrive and look good. When you drive through the corridor, if you're coming from downtown, if you're going to East Main, it should be brilliant all the way through.
It's so true.
Okay?
When it comes to building neighborhoods, and I do not pretend to be the expert in this whatsoever, but it is when Ibero is thinking about what it takes to be successful, especially in a corridor that we're in, it has to be thought of multifaceted. Personally, I have a bias on business, right? I oversee the business department at Ibero, so I constantly see things from that perspective. But the reality is, if housing is not being tackled, if the community doesn't feel heard or is legitimately not being heard, right? If even perceived and real violence is actually hindering the very aspect of the business you're trying to grow, right? If we're not tackling all those areas that make up a neighborhood, we're going to throw a lot of resources, a lot of time and effort into something that ultimately is going to get eaten up by the negative aspects of the culture. So at Ibero, as I mentioned earlier, we're tackling this from 3 fronts: the housing, the community, and the business. So let me elaborate a little further then what this looks like. I already mentioned the business. Now, for the community, Ibero launched just a few years ago the Ibero Community Research Center. This is right over in our Clifford campus at 216 Clifford. It is an opportunity where the community, literally walking distance, or those who drive are able to go there and have dual language services to meet any immediate and emerging need. So think of very basic needs like I am about to get kicked out of my house and I need emergency funding. I just arrived here and I have no idea what my next steps are. The rental situation I'm in is really bad and I have no idea where to look for the next one, right? So you need those caseworkers, those health promoters. Those are all there in the Community Research Center. And lastly, in the housing program, Ibero, since we were launched in 1968, we've been involved in housing. Since 2004, we've had Buena Vista, we've had Pueblo Nuevo Uno, Pueblo Nuevo Dos. We've seen development in St. Michael's. We're currently seeing development in Hickey Freeman. Ibero will be involved in Alta Vista, which is on the upper half of North Clinton, closer to downtown. And the list can go on and on and on, right? We're trying to tackle the community aspect, the mobilization, the housing, and the business all at once. Now, that takes a lot of effort, a lot of convincing, and it sounds sexy and good today, but keep in mind, Ibero has been doing this since '68, so it's taken a long time to build up to even get to this point, and we feel like we're only scratching the surface.
Thank you, Heavy. So here's the next question, and it follows a little bit of where you just left off, Augustine. And again, this is to all of you. Could you share with us any new or upcoming initiative that the organization that you're attached to is involved in or will be involved in? So just looking out a little bit, and we'd like to just hear what those might be. And so if you don't mind, I'm going to come here to you, then I'll go over to Charlotte, and then I'll come back to you. And I think you're going to pick up where you left off, I believe.
So I think one that's most relevant to this group is the launch of what we call the lab. Connected Communities has acquired a commercial building that we're going to be using as a work share space, but not work share space in the traditional sense. This will be a collaborative hub for small entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, as well as nonprofits that are serving our area. So we have open offices there, we have closed offices, conference room area. Everything will be included in terms of all the copying, ink, computers, et cetera. We're in the process of fully renovating that building, so it's going to be a very high-tech option for folks who are just getting started. Maybe you are a home-based entrepreneur now and you're not really ready for brick and mortar, but you want to grow up your business a little bit. You want to have a place to meet folks. And this is different from work share spaces that we already have in existence because it is neighborhood-based. So the goal is that people live, work, and play in their own communities. So we're offering this space to people who are already living in the Beechwood and the Emma neighborhood, or interested in moving there, interested in starting or growing a business there, or starting a second location there. So I'm really excited about that. We'll probably have that space available in fall 2024. So if you're not quite there yet, still get in touch with us, have some conversations. We'll be taking tours of the space in its existing state, so you can see just how fabulous it is once the building is fully renovated.
That's wonderful. That's really, really wonderful. And so the Thurston Road area has a location at 216 Thurston Road where the 19th Ward Community Association called home for the past 30 years. They're 50 years old, 55 years old today. And ironically, with the passion of being part of Thurston Business Association and owning a business, we, and meaning my husband and I, we just purchased the 216 Thurston Road property. That was the home of the 19th Ward Community Association for so many years. Thank you. And we're keeping the torch in the window for the people in the neighborhood. They come out of their streets on Ravenwood, Inglewood, Post Avenue, Colgate. We're situated near Ebenezer Baptist Church. There's 3 structures that look like houses. The one in the middle is the only one that was used for office use since, 1960 or 55. And we purchased it just about 8 months ago, and it is open. It never closed. We meet in there. Thurston Brooks doesn't meet in there, but the Birch Community Association allows meetings in there of other nonprofit and for-profit businesses and young business owners that want to have a tutorial of how to start a business. We have some instruments in the property, so we plan on having arts and culture. We inherited a Steinway and Sons piano, so we know how old that piano is, so that's too heavy to move. So these sellers sold me the piano for free. So I look forward to having lots of events. There'll be people in the property that have a jewelry design, cultural jewelry from the island designer. Her name is Charmaine, telling on her soon. Last name Gentles, ironically. And then we have a kitchen. And as a 501c3, we can have food events up to 60 times a year at that location. So that's once a week. There's some food happening. So we have a couple chefs that want to, say, lease the kitchen. The property, we just built a new deck out the back of it, 24 feet by 20 feet deck. And we're sitting on about 0.3 acres of land between the grassy area, the parking lot, and the U-shaped driveway, which speaks to the horse-drawn carts back in the early 1900s. So we're gonna definitely have a grand opening early spring, but if anyone wants to come to the property now, you're more than welcome, and I look forward to collaborating with everybody in this room on some level. So thank you for that.
To keep it quick, the most recent and probably most publicized one that we've seen recently, as many of you know, we have a lot of asylum seekers from New York City that are welcoming as our new neighbors here in the city and the surrounding area. Ibeto is in the forefront of those programs. So the reason why I mentioned that division is because a lot of the relocations are happening around the North Clinton corridor. It is where we're able to have the most warm relationships we have with landowners. It's what we're trying to do our best to develop the community, and part of that involves new blood, fresh blood, right? What's the point of all the housing if not because there's clearly a vacate of old properties that need to be rebuilt, yes, but also because the corridor needs fresh blood. And we are, as we leverage all these different departments, these new migrants that are coming from New York City and are able to apply for their asylum-seeking permissions and work permissions and all those things that we're helping them with, we're also helping them relocate in and around the vicinity of the neighborhood. So we believe this will be another way that we're impacting the community.
Thank you. You know something? It's hard to believe that it's 2:45, which means that we've been engaged in discussion for about an hour. So in the spirit of keeping things on time, I would first of all like to thank each and every one of you in the audience for being here, for caring enough to come, to participate, whether it's you've been here since this morning or you just came this afternoon, but to participate in a conference that is based on everyone prospering, not just one segment of our community. To my awesome panel, thank you all for caring enough to do the work that you're doing, making a difference in the community where you are. And you heard that it's from the heart. And I know that you all will continue working in the vineyard, doing your part to make a difference. So this is what I'm going to do. So I'm done. I've thanked my wonderful panelists, and keep connecting with each other as you go through the rest of your day. But I'm going to give you all 10 seconds. No, I'll give you 15 seconds. That's all. If you go longer than that, I'm going to cut you off. Anything, any reflective thoughts that you have that you'd like to share with the audience or the panelists. But you got 15 seconds to do it, and we're going to let folks move on to the next session. And thank you all once again. 15 seconds. Hit it.
Well, Connected Communities is looking for an economic and business development director. So if you have that background or you know someone who has that background to help us launch the Greenwood Project, please see us. Go to our website, connectedcommunitiesrock.org.
Yes. 15 seconds.
15 seconds. Well, the Birch Community Foundation is available and open today. Come to 216 Thurston Road. My phone number is 585-201-1133. And my name is Charlotte Birch. And thank you for your time.
Excellent.
And all I'll say is just keep an eye out for the next season of the International Plaza opening up in the warm season coming up in the spring. You're going to love what we have to offer there. It's opened on Sundays during market days.
Hand clap for yourself, hand clap for the panelists. Thank you all, thank you, thank you.
What's going on, Rock City? Dr. Lomax Campbell tuning in here. I was asked to talk a little bit about entrepreneurial ecosystem building, and I'll start by saying that the Kauffman Foundation and their foundational work through their eShip summits defined ecosystem building as the network of people and the culture of trust supporting entrepreneurs and small business owners. It's a very important phenomenon because traditionally small businesses were expected to fend for themselves in the field of economic development, focused on a combination of, I would say, exports. They focused on business attraction. They focused on infrastructure projects. Small business development really wasn't a focus as a national or regional strategy until about the 80s, 1980s. And we learned about that actually from Dr. Delgain's work, Ecosystems Emerge. And so when you start talking about ecosystem building, we're talking about trying to make improvements in the conditions of the environment in which entrepreneurs and small business owners thrive. And that's important because, again, traditionally, the focus was on programmatic interventions like capacity building programs and incubators and capital programs. Wasn't a lot of attention put into curating the environments unless you were talking about cluster building, like saying we're going to designate this office park as a technology district or an arts district or a manufacturing zone or things of that nature, where by hopefully co-locating similar industries of entrepreneur activity, you'd have synergies. But ecosystem building is about investing in the people who help the people start and grow businesses and explore entrepreneurship in the full gamut of innovation and creativity to build viable businesses. And that looks different because now we're talking about interoperability between organizations, be they nonprofits, be they government, quasi-government, business associations, or for-profit businesses, coming together to create a better experience, to clarify pathways, to bring collective capacity and shared resources, all in the name of helping entrepreneurs achieve success. Because as we've learned, entrepreneurship is a team sport, and no one organization can be all things to any particular business owner or any entrepreneur. So by doing it together, we can do more. By doing it together, we can declutter and demystify who to go to for what, when, why, at what stage of development, and help people be more efficient in their entrepreneurship journey.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We have one more panel after this, but I'm here before you to present a new initiative that the Venture Jobs Foundation is launching. So my name is Alexis Russell. I am serving as the marketing director for Venture Jobs Foundation, and I also own and co-found two businesses here in Rochester as well. So we are launching what we're calling the Venture Jobs Foundation Business Network, and we want you all to join. So Ken is walking around the room now with cards that have a QR code on the back. This network is a way for us to continue the conversations and the networking and the collaborations that were started here today. So if you flip your card to the back, you'll see the benefits of joining the network, including engaging with a growing community of business leaders, accessing a wealth of knowledge through workshops, webinars, events, and programs that we'll be hosting throughout the upcoming year. And you're simply joining a support system of business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives, innovators who just want to grow and accelerate and move forward with their business and within our inclusive prosperity community. So you'll see, again, the QR code on the back, website on the back. Anyone who registered for the conference today, you are automatically enrolled in the network. So your information will be shared with all of those who have registered. If you would like to opt out, you can see that option on the website where you can opt out of having your information shared. However, if you're here, we're sharing information because we're building connections, we're building partnerships, and we're building collaborations. So we have our final panel coming to the stage, Investing in the Rochester Community, a fireside chat. And I am going to let Ken pass out the rest of the cards and welcome our next and final panel to the stage.